Peace, Ed. What up, man?
What's up, Zoo? How you doing
Chilling.
tonight?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
You got something for us?
Yeah, I got a little video for us to react to. You can pull it up.
Oh, okay.
This is a video by a guy named Peter Boghossian, who does street interviews on college campuses, or I guess you'd call it campus interviews. He calls his interview style street epistemology, and he basically poses a question to an individual or a group of individuals, and on the ground, he'll have neutral in the middle, strongly agree, or neutral, agree, strongly agree, and on the other side, he'll have disagree and strongly disagree. And after he poses the question, the people in the video will move to whatever area corresponds with their feelings on the topic, and then he'll ask them follow-up questions to so that they can elaborate on their positions. It's very interesting. I for a while was binging his video just because it's interesting one to hear how people think about certain topics, and also like just his style of interviewing people. He's extremely good at what he does, and he makes it look very easy. So,
Okay.
let's just get into it.
All right. Have you seen this one?
I have not. I have not. I haven't watched any of his videos for a couple of months. This one was from a couple days ago, I think.
Okay.
So this is a brand new video.
All right. Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Okay, sir. What's your name?
Warren Smith,
And where are we today?
Williams College.
A fine institution. And what is your name, young lady?
Wendy,
And what is your major?
psychology and sociology.
Psychology and sociology. And what is your major?
Math and bio.
Oh my God, that's so intimidating to me. And what is your major?
Chemistry.
What's 7 plus 5?
12.
All right. I like how he goes from the white guy on the one side, and he cuts over to the black chick on the other side. I mean,
And he didn't ask the Asian's name.
yeah, I want to know her name. All right. Anyway, let's keep.
Okay, she's legit. What's the chemical for salt?
Iodine.
And he asked the Asian chick the math problem. Yeah,
No, well, she said she was a math major.
no, I know.
Sodium chloride.
He's legit. Okay, so
I was
now that
wrong.
we've established that, we're going to do a new claim. The more historically marginalized groups you are a part of, the more it is okay for you to cheat. The more historically.
All right, Zoo, what do you think? Where do you go on that?
I mean,
More historically marginalized groups you identify with, the more
Yeah.
okay it is for you to cheat.
I mean, I guess I somewhat agree with that. I mean, I don't know. For me, cheating is kind of like it's like what we were talking about before with morality. It's like what do you consider cheating? You know, there's law, but as you correctly mentioned last time, laws are different in different countries. And so I think he'll probably have to define cheating, but yeah, I mean there's some rationale to if you're historically marginalized, get right a little bit more. What do you think?
I don't know. I think I'm on the disagree side of that, but I
Yeah.
do think that the more marginalized you are, the more temptation there would be to cheat, to kind of even the stakes a little bit.
Yeah, but also that it begs the question. It's like he's adding kind of like a scale of marginalization. Like what what if I'm American Indian, I'm less marginalized than if I'm Black American.
Oh
Which
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. So
why
yeah. So how
Asian
there's a
American.
ranking. There's a
Yeah,
ranking system. I think the term is the what is it, the the oppression Olympics or something like that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, okay. All right, let's continue.
Don't move yet. Don't move yet. The more historically
She's ready.
marginalized groups you're a part of, the more okay it is for you to cheat. Move.
Uh-oh. We got a lot of disagreement.
I'm right there with
so you know this is legit. You can look too. Okay, what do you want? Heads or tails?
Tails.
Hey Siri, flip a coin. Heads. Okay, so you lost, you won. So you have a choice. You can send her to the strongly agree, or you can go to the strongly agree.
Interesting.
Hmm.
And they have to
So he's gonna make them argue the
against
opposing
their belief.
position. Interesting. Okay.
Oof. I don't know if I can argue this one. I'll
Well,
try
then
it.
send her. Then send her
would
if
you
you don't
mind
want.
doing it? Would you be up for? I don't want you to have to do it.
He asks her.
Yo, yeah. See, all right. See, this is where, like, I mean, this might be in my head, but I feel like he would be more straightforward. Like, if it was another white dude, he'd be like,
He'd be like, go.
Right? But it's like, all right. So, there's a
You don't
little.
want. She doesn't.
Well, she lost the game. I mean, what can you say? She lost a fair coin toss. Listen,
All
if
right,
you
go for it.
you
Try
don't do that for a fair coin toss, then
Fine.
why are you on that
All right,
line,
all
right?
right.
Oh, yo, he called it out. That's exactly what I was saying, right?
Yeah.
Yo, right? He's giving concessions because she's a black woman, right?
Yeah.
He's already showing his white guilt. Right.
You could do better than me on this. I don't think I can do
Okay,
it. Yeah.
okay.
You could do
Okay,
better.
so you're going to make the best argument that you can for strongly agree for the more. Now, I know you don't believe this, just to be
Right.
clear. The more historically marginalized groups you're a part of, the more it is for you okay to cheat. You guys are going to make the best arguments that you can against that. What is the best argument that you have against that?
Is this explaining why I'm in disagree? And
Why are you in disagree? What is the best argument that you have? Why do you disagree that the more historically marginalized groups you're a part of, the more it is okay for you to cheat?
I think there's important distinctions to be made between marginalized groups and non-marginalized groups, but saying, the more okay it is for you to cheat is not one of the gradations that I would make. I think, really it's not okay to cheat at all. And so I think the more historically marginalized groups you are a part of, that doesn't really weigh into the equation for me.
But isn't the fact that white men who are heterosexual got here in the first place a part of a legacy of cheating?
That's 100% true, and I think I would agree with that. Except,
so you cheated to get here.
Pause.
I mean, I wouldn't say that necessarily I cheated to get here.
Okay. So, first of all, two things come to mind. One, like cheating, is AI cheating? Like, is that considered cheating now? Like, what
I
is
think he's looking at it as having
before
privilege.
AI?
Having privileges and having like an advantage, an unfair advantage. So not cheat, like he's looking at it through the lens of DEI. Where it's like, or through the lens of affirmative action. I think that's where he's looking at it through. Where it's like, all right, you started out ahead in life, so it's only fair that the other person who started out behind you gets a little bit of a boost up so that you guys are on a level playing field. You feel me?
Yeah. Okay. And then the other point was he's saying, since you're white, you cheated to get here. What is that about?
He's not saying that. He's just using his rationale against.
What is the rationale?
His rationale is basically saying that, like, he was like, it's 100% true that that disenfranchised people have to, are disadvantaged, and then he basically turned it around and said, well, that means that you as a white male, you cheated to be here,
right?
And then he had to think about it again. Well, I don't know that it would, so it's like it's
he's saying he's
objectively speaking, it's easy to say oh yeah, cheating is wrong, and everyone should have an equal shot. But then when you narrow it into your own experience,
Yeah.
if you're a white male, then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, but it didn't feel like I was cheating. I was just
Yeah.
going through the
That's what he was
steps.
saying. All right. So
Well, that's my interpretation of it.
all right. So let me ask you. Okay, we grew up together in New
Yeah.
York in the early 90s, I guess, right?
Yeah, through the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, through the 90s and 2000s. So you're mixed, right? Black
Yeah.
and white.
Yeah.
I'm obviously full white.
Yeah.
Wh- But
Color
do
is
you
one component of it, but then there's also socioeconomics. This is an endless number of things.
Okay, but let's just stick to race for now, right?
Okay.
In
Okay.
this question. So do you feel clearly you look black? You don't look mixed or anything like that. You don't look like Bruno
Okay.
Mars or whatever. Either way, you obviously identify as black and whatever. I identify as white. Do you feel like you had less opportunity than, let's say, me, for example?
No.
Like, do you think I had more advantage just
Based on the color of my skin?
only?
No. No.
So you think it's more socioeconomic? So you think that since the late 90s, and then this might be a hot
I don't
take.
think it's anything. I just think that we're two individuals with two different toolkits, and we
Okay,
both utilized our
what we had.
toolkits to a certain extent or to different extents. So, like, there's so many variables. Like, let's say we both had an array of qualities that were available to us,
Yeah.
and there were some of those qualities or those tools that we utilized to different extents to get us through life, right? And to
Mhm,
kind of, to open doors for ourselves, right?
mhm.
We used some of those tools. Some of them we left in the toolbox, and we never really, took advantage of them. You know, they were
Like
they
what?
were
You
they
have an example?
like
Making beats?
no. I'm just talking. No, I mean, I don't really have an example, but for example, like we both had pushes forward, and we both had things that held us back. You feel me?
Okay.
There were different things, right?
Right.
In both regards, different things that propelled us forward, different things that held us back. To compare one to the others, it's like comparing apples and oranges in a sense.
Well, let's
Because
just be transparent
yeah,
for the audience. I
yeah,
know for me, the
yeah.
thing that held me back was drugs and alcohol,
Right,
right?
right. And to a
So,
different extent, that was it for me too.
same
Right.
for you.
But to a different extent,
Right,
right?
sure.
Or maybe there were different drugs, maybe they were used to a different extent.
Right, okay.
Maybe I had other things holding me back and other things pushing me forward and different opportunities to
Right,
do
okay.
different things. So it's like, so to just homogenize all that complexity and say, oh well,
Right,
into a linear, like you had
right.
this many, looking at us like we are fantasy characters in.
Right. Meaning all black people and all white people are not the same, basically.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
all people.
So, but if you had to simplify, right,
Right.
and it sounds like I'm pushing for a hot take, but I don't know if I am. Do you
Yeah.
think that race has been an issue in the majority of people, or you think that it truly has nothing to do with that in terms of having an equal playing field growing up? Like, yes, you're right. We came from similar socioeconomic backgrounds, right? But
Yeah, more or less.
yeah, I think. And so for you that's the biggest factor. But you think race, and I think I would agree with that,
Yeah, yeah. I
but
mean,
at this,
all right. So there's race, there's
yeah,
socioeconomics, there's personal experience. There's family dynamic.
like nature and nurture.
There's family networks, people that
Yeah.
people that your parents know. There are, childhood
And how much your family is
childhood
willing to give
traumas.
you.
There are personality
Yeah,
traits, right? There are physical attributes. There are so many different things
yeah.
that people, and then there are just different abilities to do different things, right? So
So how does that sync up to being a historically marginalized group? Because I'm trying to connect the
it
dots.
doesn't. That's the whole
How
point.
he
It
sees.
doesn't. It doesn't. It's all bullshit. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There are, by the time we were growing up, even,
Yeah.
and especially in the bubble that we grew up in, those things were not those weren't major factors, right? Now, once we went off to college and we were out in, more of the mainstream world, maybe some of those things played in, but we already had our foundation laid for us. We
Yeah.
both went to good schools. We went to good primary and secondary schools. We both got a very good education. We both had certain, and we both had access to basically the same social network from ourselves. Like, so we went to school with the same people. We went to the same school. We knew the same people. We built connections and
For the
nurtured those
audience,
connections
for,
to different extents. Now how much our parents, social network and resources and stuff played into it, that's a different layer
right.
to it, but I think that there are other contributing factors that overshadow race when you're talking about you and I, right? So maybe that kind of undermines the appearance of, like, all right, you got this black, I guess black or racially ambiguous guy with this white guy, doing reaction videos, and two different perspectives. Our perspectives probably are very similar on most
Yeah.
things, and you know um yeah, so but then we are two people, right, out of a sea of people. So, like, you know and the differences between you and I, or the lack of differences between you and I, don't necessarily correlate to the average differences between,
Black and white.
a random black person and a random white person, or another given black person and another given white person. It's like, so it's just way more complicated and nuanced
Right.
than can be,
Simplified.
to say that, oh, black people deserve this or need this, or you know you have underprivileged people of all walks of life,
Yeah.
and you have privileged people of all walks of life. You have black people that are very affluent and have every opportunity handed to them.
Yeah.
You have white people growing up in the Appalachians who have no opportunity.
Yeah.
They have,
I was just watching this thing that said that there's no statistical correlation. It's 0.26, and zero means no correlation.
Yeah.
In terms of violent crime and race, it's purely economic status.
Yeah,
Pure.
without a doubt. And the crazy thing is that there are other. It gets more complicated when you realize there are poor people who are very family oriented, very religious, and they have very low crime rates. And then you have poor people somewhere else that are from broken homes,
Right.
and are exposed to drugs and dysfunction and all that, and the crime rate is different. Then you have affluent people who are the same, like, what I mean. It's just, there are too many different, like, little niches and bubbles and enclaves in society for people to come up out of, to just say, all right, you're poor, how much money did your family bring in? So that means you're at risk of this.
Totally.
It sounds good, and it serves you well in a debate or an argument. But but it doesn't really pan out that way in the real
Yeah.
world. You know?
I agree. All right, before we get back into it, they mentioned reparations, just for the record. And I do want to put one other thing for the record. Where my boy said social network, he was not talking about Facebook and anything like that, because we didn't even have it. When was Facebook invented?
What social network?
You
Oh,
said
when
it
I said,
depends on yourself.
oh no, social network, like in the
Yeah,
real world, like
in the real
you know,
world.
yeah,
All right, kiddies.
yeah,
But
yeah, like you know, I'm gonna like if my father
yeah.
can call his friend and get me a
Yeah,
job
yeah,
out of
yeah. Of course.
college,
No, I
it's
remember it's true
different than like
because
if
one
my father
example,
doesn't have that connect.
yeah, one example is I remember my mother had to connect with Sidney Lumet, who was a big time movie director, and got me a job as a production assistant on that fucking Hugh Grant movie or whatever it is with Drew Barrymore. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's a connect, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah, and in
you're
turn, you got me internships or
right.
like so it's like
And
I probably benefited indirectly from
yeah.
your mother's
And
connect.
another perfect example is we both went to the United Nations school where
TMI,
most
TMI, bro,
people
TMI.
okay. Well, it's too late. Should I cut it? Anyway, you
Bro, it's
know, most people you had to be connected to the UN to go there. I didn't,
yeah,
but
yeah. Well, you paid a different rate, you know.
did I was
So
that it?
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
paid
So
I
so
paid more.
75% for like me, Jose, were were who else? Alan.
Everyone I know, Sufjan,
Yeah, yeah.
his mom.
75% was covered by the UN. So
Okay,
so our parents paid 25% of the tuition costs, which was
okay,
it's huge, and that went all the way through college. So I was able to go to schools that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to go to.
okay.
DPAG, um,
Had no connection.
yeah, like remember Gabriel Suleiman, you know, like Rachel Packer. You
Yeah,
remember these people, right?
yeah,
Like their parents had no affiliation, so they paid the full amount. You know what I mean?
right. Like me, yeah.
Yeah, and that's basically what it came down to.
Okay. All right. So anyway, so the question was reparations. Do you believe? Do you think it's
I
uh,
mean,
justified
reparations for who and for what?
for Black Americans about slavery?
What Black Americans?
The ones
How
living,
many of the Black American of people with Black?
everyone, even if you had no historical
I
connection
mean, yeah,
to.
bless me with money. I mean, you know, I can sit here now and say, oh, the stimulus was bad for our economy, but at the time that I was getting it, I wouldn't have said that.
No, but I guess the question is, do you think you should get money for being black as opposed to me not getting money for not being black? You see what I mean? Or do you
Um,
think you're talking about, I think,
no,
universal basic income or
no,
whatever?
no, no. I'm not even talking about that. I think that at the end of the day, no, I don't believe in reparations. I'm not in any way connected to foundational Black Americans, right? I'm not a descendant. I'm not a BIPOC. You know,
Right.
no, I'm a Black person of color. What is it? ADOS, right? An American descendant of slavery, right?
But see, you're
I'm not one of
different.
those.
You're actually different than most Black Americans, right? You're
Yeah.
actually
I
a
mean,
real African American, whereas most Black Americans have no ties to Africa. Moreover, they
well,
actually don't get along
they
with
do,
Africa
but by way of the
as many ties as
Atlantic
I
state.
have.
No, 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 no. They definitely do. They're all Black people originated in Africa
All
within
people
the
do.
past. Well,
Lucy.
I'm talking about within within recent history, and the
Okay.
only reason why people with melanated skin or Black people, let me just not overcomplicate it. The only reason why Black people are in this part of the world is through slavery. So whether you are of Caribbean descent, even most Latin Americans, right? Especially people like from the Atlantic side of Latin America, like a lot of people. If you come from Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, if you come from um, Haiti, obviously, if you come from any Caribbean country, if you come from Colombia, if you come from Brazil, if you come from, where else? Belize, if any of these places, you are a descendant of a direct descendant in the last 500 years, 400 years of Africans who were brought here as slaves. So, now, but me, where I differ is that my father was born in Africa. His family was sub-Saharan, South African, basically, from, Zulu, descendants. So they had a colonial. They had interactions with colonial Europeans, right? Colonists, basically, but had no part in the Atlantic slave trade. He came here by choice for college, and so it's a totally different route. And there are a lot of, there are a lot of Black people here who have a similar route. There are also a lot of people who come from those Caribbean, South American, origins. Like, so they came from Africa to there. They are, speak different languages, and that were different. It's not considered part of the North American slave trade, but they come from slaves nonetheless. So it's like it's just a complicated question. But really, that, like, if you want to make those people whole,
you have to trace it.
No. If you want to make those people whole, fine. But the reality of it is that this is a little snippet of history, and the people, in order to divert funds to a certain segment of a population, to give, you have to take, right? So it's like,
Right.
in that sense, yeah, all right, you're giving Black people money, but you're taking it from you, right? Or a white person, right?
Right.
Now, are those white people descendants of slave owners?
Right.
If
And
they're
also
not,
keep in mind, I'm a Jew too, so a lot of people think that Jews and Blacks have a similar kind of oppression.
I mean, that's a whole nother topic. But
Yeah.
I mean, but like, based on the Holocaust,
Yeah.
maybe. Based on, like, there was, even further back in history, there was slavery going on where
Yeah.
Jews
From
were the
Egypt.
slaves.
Yeah.
I mean, slavery is, this is the irony of it. Slavery is the norm for all of human history.
And it still happens.
It
It's
still
just
happens.
different. It's
But
just different.
the reality of it is that the British were the first ones to make it illegal, right?
Okay.
So you talk about the colonial, like, the colonists, right? Like the imperialists, and Great Britain is like the figurehead of that. But the irony, if you really look at it, is that they were the first ones to say, this practice is illegal. It has to stop. Now, did it stop? No, but right then and there, no. But it caused a paradigm switch, whereas society going forward incrementally started to disavow that practice.
When
As,
was that? When did they say that it should
I don't
stop?
know exactly, but it was before before the Emancipation Proclamation here.
Yeah.
Well before that, and I mean, it's complicated. So, but back to my point, right? Is that the white people that live in this country who might benefit in some way from that history, indirectly based on just being viewed a certain way. Those people are not all descendants of slave
Slave owner.
owners or even white people that existed in this country at that time. A lot of those people immigrated in the early 1900s, late 1800s,
Yeah.
from Europe, from Ireland, Italy,
Yeah. That's another reason why
Germany.
race in US is so mixed up, because a lot of the white people, not all of them, but a lot of them are also immigrants from, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
poor
so you're penalizing those people
yeah.
who make up a huge, I would venture to say, a majority of the white people in this country.
Yeah, everyone living in America is almost a, not everyone, but they're a lot, most of them are second, third generation.
Well, I'm trying to discern between what white immigrants post
Right,
slavery, and the original founding
right.
stock of Europeans that participated directly or indirectly in the slave trade. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So, you know, so you would, if you want to take from that group of people and give to specifically black people who can chart their lineage back, I mean, whatever. I mean, I just don't see how that is possible. And even then, you know, what if you are what if you truly don't benefit from it? If you're a white person, you truly are not economically in a position where, you know, let's say, you came up through the generations and your family lost its wealth, right? Now you work at Kmart as a greeter, and or whatever, and you're not making a lot of money, but your lineage goes back, so that person is going to have to pay back,
right. So
to the black family who
yeah,
is a multi-millionaire
right.
business. I mean, like,
I
this
see
is
your
what
point.
this is what
Yeah,
happens. It's like, at the
but
end of the day, people who availed themselves of their toolkit, wherever you start in life, and use their tools to the fullest to get them
yeah,
where they could possibly get in life, based on what what inalienable attributes they came into this world with. It doesn't really make a difference. You have so many black people that are doing
yeah.
great at this present
So
time. You have so many white people who are not. You have white people that are doing better than great. You have black people who are not.
right,
And there are systemic problems that are that have lingered. There's the residual effect of slavery, without a doubt. But to think that you're going to untangle that and make it right by
yeah,
a
yeah.
wave of a
Financially,
pen,
yeah.
that's not really where it's at in my
Yeah,
mind.
I agree. But
You know?
wait, and before we get back, I know I keep bringing things up, but maybe it's another video. But you mentioned that you have to take in order to give. And so is this like an economic principle, meaning that you have to create money and then that money has to go from to one place instead of the other? Or is it like, can it
What I mean, like, just in a broad sense, is that the resources on this planet are
are
finite, right?
limited? Yeah.
So no, they're not unlimited. They're finite.
No, limited.
Limited. There's one planet with so much of this and so much of that to go around. And
But is money? It's money is not really a resource because we just print money. You
yeah,
know.
but every dollar that gets printed reduces the value of all the dollars that have been printed before it. You understand?
Yeah,
You know,
but I don't think we're. I think it's going the wrong path, because even beyond reparations, like the budget, the deficit is bigger than it's ever been, and it's only getting bigger, and they're not doing anything to reduce that. They're just building on the deficit. No.
yeah, but this is a whole different
Yeah,
conversation.
that's what I figured.
No, no,
All
no.
right, so let's go back.
All right.
here, but there were 100% power structures that allowed me to get here where other people wouldn't have had the opportunity. And if you want to call that cheating, I don't know, maybe I would disagree with you, but I can see where you're coming from. I think, though, when it comes down to like how I picture cheating, it's more of like an active choice versus like when you think about like the passive way
Okay.
it's structured. And so I would say it's not okay to like actively cheat.
Okay. Tell her your best argument for why you're on the disagree. Tell her.
Well, I just don't think it's okay to cheat
Why not?
because,
Everybody cheats all the time.
okay, then I don't think it matters your background, whether it's okay that you're cheating or not.
Oh, so your background is, it doesn't matter what your background is.
No, if you're cheating.
Okay. Okay, sir. What is your argument for why you're there?
Because everybody should be treated equal, regardless of race, skin color, background, immutable characteristics, and no one should be allowed to cheat, so they should be applied equally.
Okay, what do you think? And again, I know you're not there. Tell them, what do you think someone would argue who's there? What's the best argument they would have?
I think you said it here. When a system started in an unfair way, it is not fair to expect other people to play by those rules because the rules were not fair to begin with.
Anybody want to respond to that?
I could take that.
Okay.
I think it's a good point that, you know, how can you expect everybody to play the same when not everybody is starting in the same place? I guess maybe I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around like what it means to cheat. I think
Well, let's define that. What do you mean to cheat?
when I think about cheating, I assume we're talking about like maybe like cheating on a test or like cheating, I don't know, some sort of way to get ahead that other people don't have the opportunity to have. Is that
Well,
is that about right?
that's yeah. He's kind of contradicting. Those are two very different types of cheating, right there.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Like, because that's what we're talking about. You know, availing yourselves of opportunities to get ahead that other people might not have. That's exactly what we're trying to hit on right here. Cheating on a test is a moral choice, like a decision that you're making in the moment to get out of
Doing work.
taking the easy way
Yeah.
to the end goal of passing the test or getting a good grade.
Yeah.
I guess there are many types of cheating. It's like cheating on a test, cheating on but the very fact that some people are here and other people are not is a kind of cheating. You've rigged the system in a certain way to provide advantages to yourself to come to this college, whereas most people who are poor.
But he hasn't rigged the system in a certain type of way. You know what I mean? Like him, the individual hasn't done it. He's just been the beneficiary of those systems.
Oppressed
And
minorities.
what is he alluding to? Like, what is the rigged system?
Just through generations of all right. So
Maybe money, because
well, money is a huge part of it.
Yeah,
like
college costs a
economic
lot of money.
resources, right?
Yeah.
But just being being born into a class of people that has benefited from generations of privileges, right? That have allowed you to climb higher up the ladder. You know what I mean? So if
it's like affirmative action, basically.
Yeah. Basically, this is the heart of the affirmative action argument, and there is
that's what I think he's trying to get to. But these
but he needs to discern. He needs to discern between those two. He's talking about cheating on a test versus taking advantage of opportunities to get somewhere in life that other people haven't had. Because that right there is the affirmative action argument, and to to give credence to that, there were laws at one point in time that made it very difficult for people of color, for Black people, to own property, to vote, to have their, piece of
just to exist in the same place. place.
Yeah. So they were an underclass. They and in many places and in many ways are still an underclass in this country. The problem, you know, the problem now that we're dealing with is that now that those laws have been, for the most part, to my knowledge,
Not
done.
really Jim Crow.
Jim Crow is not currently.
Yeah, but it still kind of happens though in the South. No?
No, I think what happens is those attitudes are kind of baked into the culture.
Right, exactly.
Whereas,
That's
like,
what I mean. It's
right,
lingered.
but I'm talking about law, like
Right.
law that So there is prejudice, where, when we were younger, you know, the thing was being profiled a certain way, being looked at a certain way because of the color of your skin, being certain assumptions
Yeah.
being made about you because of the color of your skin, and more then than now, black people acted a certain way,
Yeah.
white people acted a certain way,
Yeah.
and largely because of the globalization of, the global economy, the cultural influence of things like hip hop
Yeah, for
and
sure.
American culture, and the internet, where people from West Bumblefuck, Idaho, can get down with little niche genres of music and culture from inner city Chicago, or and so there's that influence started to. You'd have black skater kids, and you'd
Yeah.
have white hip hop kids, and you'd have like and there was a big blending, and then it became way more normalized for interracial couples, and so those stereotypes and those casts of that correlate color and
Yeah.
and personality and persona and whatever behavior, those have kind of melted together, whereas like you don't really know. You meet the Asian kid and he might know more about inner
Yeah.
city culture than you know what I mean, and
I
he's
still
from.
find I still find it interesting that in France where I live, the interracial couples are the majority. Like when you walk down the street, whether it was in Paris or smaller states like Lille or whatever, or Nice, um its majority is interracial, like honestly, and it's
Yeah.
very acceptable. Whereas when I brought Aisha to New York, for a few days, there there was not only a lot of looks, but I told you about what happened in Walmart, right?
Nah.
This guy started following us, this black guy started following us and started yelling at me basically, like,
Yeah.
yo, this fucking devil taking all our women, blah blah blah, trying to like start
Oh,
with me. And she
usually
was
usually it's
really
the black
surprised.
usually it's the sisters who have a problem with that. Yeah. The
Right, but
dudes
I'm
don't
just
usually have
saying,
a problem.
in the States it's still not really acceptable. Like it's not a norm. It
Yeah.
happens, but it's definitely not as common. I
Yeah.
still find that
Yo,
really interesting.
black women get, well, I mean, yeah, even till today, they
Yeah,
get bent out of shape when they see
yeah,
an eligible black man dating a
a
white
white
chick.
woman. You
Yeah.
know what that's from, right? I mean, I don't want to oversimplify it, but Eldridge Cleaver, Soul on Ice.
Nah, tell me about it. I do know, but
Eldridge Cleaver, I think he was a Black Panther. He wrote a book called Soul on Ice,
yeah.
where it basically says that the ultimate prize for a black man is a white woman. It's like the ultimate, like, fuck you to the world kind of thing, and that's
Yeah,
what
nah,
all
I
black
get that. I
men
get that. I
should
mean,
strive for.
it's also like there's a novelty to it. I mean, white dudes like Asian women too. You know,
Yeah,
You know, and there's not that dynamic is different. It's a different dynamic.
Yeah, it's more subservient, I would say.
No,
But
no,
no,
but
it's a whole nother issue
there's
because
novelty to it. There's novelty to it.
Yeah.
Like men, you know, you
Not
want
because
that exotic, you know, like, you know,
yeah.
even if
No,
you're
but it's deeper than that because I think we've talked about this before because like in Asian culture, it's part of the culture for the women to be subservient to the men. Like it's
yeah,
part of the culture. And I think we talked about that because, you know, Aisha's obviously is African and it's a difference between my ex who was Black American who there's a different mindset in terms of like and I don't want to overgeneralize, but like in African culture, I think they respect the sanctity of the
gender role.
man and woman's traditional roles in a
Yeah.
marriage, you know? And
Yeah,
yeah, the woman can be strong, but you know, like letting the man feel like a man or act like a man, you know, it's like it's different
yeah.
and but yeah, there's obviously the exotic part, but yeah, I mean it's all
Dudes like exotic cars. They
yeah,
like exotic weed. They like exotic women. You know?
yeah.
That's how it is.
All right, let's go. But yeah, but wait, I think you're right. I think he's not being clear on the cheating in the sense of affirmative action and cheating in the sense
Yeah,
of
yeah. No,
yes,
he should have defined it
yeah.
on the onset, like at the
But
very
maybe that's part of his thing. Maybe he's trying to draw a link, and we'll see.
yeah. No. You know, this dude is an
Yeah.
amazing interviewer. The way
Right.
he gives them space to kind of suss stuff
Right.
out on their own.
Right. Okay. Let's do it.
They couldn't possibly afford. How much is the tuition here? They couldn't possibly afford this place.
I think that's a good point, but I guess I don't really see.
Is it enough of a good point for you to move to slightly disagree?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of ways that we could like restructure the system to make it so that everybody's starting at a little more equal footing, but that we don't necessarily have to like give people opportunities to cheat. And I know that
Like reparations, you mean?
I'm not necessarily talking about reparations. I'm more talking about something like, you know, affirmative action in college admissions. If you want to argue that that's reparations, I think that's a little bit of a tricky argument to make, but it's, you know, there are things we can do to our system that give people opportunities that they otherwise wouldn't have.
All right, let's do this claim. People in historically marginalized groups deserve compensation. Move. People in historically marginalized groups deserve compensation. Move.
Interesting.
People in historically marginalized groups deserve compensation. Okay, why do you strongly disagree, sir?
My man's voting for Trump.
I understand the nobility of the sentiment, but how do we measure that? Where does that stop?
So it's a measurement issue for you. Like, what would that look like, you mean?
Yeah, are we talking about based off of people's ancestry? And my response to that would be like, okay, what about if my Irish grandfather came here with absolutely nothing? Is this socioeconomic? Is this based on skin color?
Okay.
Okay.
Let me show you how we do stuff around here. Actually, my department uses Monday.com, so I'm good. Work.
People in historically marginalized groups deserve compensation. You agree?
I do.
Tell him why.
And actually, speaking to the measurement issues, of course, we can't measure everything, but I don't think that's a reason not to do it. There are definitely certain metrics. For example, we know, of course, no, those are not exact numbers, but we know, for example, the contribution of slavery to America. We know how much money was taken from Africa during colonization. We have numbers. They're not exact, but we have numbers. And I think it's not even a nobility of the sentiment. I think it's actually a duty. And it's not like doing it out of the kindness of your heart.
A duty.
It is a duty.
Okay.
I think if you steal something, returning it is.
Yo, look at the Asian chick. She's thinking about what she's gonna say to validate her move. Yo, she's like, yeah. All right, my bad.
It's not because you're noble. It's because it's what you're supposed to do.
Okay, let's do this. Let's tack on the claim. So we just did people in historically marginalized groups deserve compensation. cheating is a good form of compensation? Move.
The questions are hitting, right?
Yeah.
Disagree. Okay, new claim. There should be different penalties based upon one's racial ancestry for cheaters. Move.
No. Yeah, go even further.
Do you have to move or can you stay in the
You can complete this. No obligation to move. So why aren't you on the strongly disagree?
I mean, I think that your background does factor in some ways to how you feel and how you act. And if you're from a historically marginalized group, you may be more inclined, perhaps you have more anger towards the systems in place, and that gives you a little bit of leeway, but I still think that cheating is wrong.
Do you believe it gives you a little more leeway?
I think it's when I think about like punishment versus like taking action to like, you know, positively affirm something. I think those things are really different, and punishment is something that has to be a lot more customized and appropriate to the situation. So like, for example, if you have somebody who's from a low income background and they're caught cheating, is kicking them out of school the right thing to do when
Well, punishment is different, all right?
well, you were talking about punishment, weren't you?
Okay, all right, I'm trying to track this. Let's do this one. Grades are an oppressive system. Move. Grades are an oppressive system. Grades are an oppressive system. You staying there?
I'm trying to think.
You think. There's no, take your time. You staying there? You're staying there.
He's just trying to.
What do you think? Grades are an oppressive system. I don't know if I like that question. I mean, it's like, I mean, the question is a question, but what do you think about that?
I mean, I don't know about oppressive as much as more subjective than they should be. You know, like they should be objective, but grades, I mean, tests, I think there's evidence that the SATs were racist,
We're
right?
racist.
Well, at least there's claims. I don't know
We're
about evidence.
biased. I think that's
Biased, yeah.
So
Right.
if you grew up not being exposed to a certain set of knowledge or information,
Right.
or
Then you didn't get
you don't
into it.
have the personal experiences to draw from to relate to a certain topic or a certain type of question, that could be a problem. But how else do you differentiate, you know, the quality or the abilities of students in a classroom or a class?
Yeah, I mean it's
so like who gets, you know, I mean, all right, so like in the most extreme example, like who gets to be the civil engineer who's going to build the bridge that transports millions of people across a crocodile infested river every year? Like, are you going to give it to anybody just because you went to the class, or do you want the very best kid from the class to be the one entrusted with the responsibility of building a safe bridge that's going to transport millions of people every day?
Yeah, I mean it's the same question about police, right? Who do you want to be carrying a gun
Right. Okay.
legally,
Yeah.
right?
You
Like
can
you
use
want
that.
the non-racist person who's out, who's
Oh
you know,
yeah. Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
with
that's a different type
teachers.
of.
It's like, yeah, you want good teachers.
You need to be able
Because
to assess the abilities of,
yeah,
you know, both for the student and for the teacher to know.
yeah. I mean, like if you think about in math, right?
Yeah.
Or math, I think is probably the only
Math and engineering. Yeah.
no, but engineering is math, I think.
Yeah. That's why I
Right?
use that
So,
example.
but because I'm thinking comparatively, science is very subjective. Obviously, any kind of literary is very subjective. You know, those things are
To an
much more
extent, but the you know, but you can read a paper and know that the person is making
Yeah.
pertinent connection
Right.
and
Right.
is transferring their ideas in an effective way through
Right.
their
And same thing with science too. I mean, if you're learning dissection, you can't just, you see what I mean? There's a right.
you have to know.
Yeah.
There's it's either
Yeah.
right or it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, grades, I don't know how it would be oppressive, but I do think that I don't know. I just think that teachers need to be more valued and better financially compensated in order to raise,
Well, all right. Maybe we can say this. It's only as oppressive as how oppressive it is or isn't. It correlates directly to how much of the teachers or the graders' bias
yeah,
is is
allowed.
allowed in the
Yeah.
process, right? Like how much discretion do they have to impose their biases in the grading process?
Yeah. But do you think education is one of those broken systems the same way the judicial and penal systems are? Like in US, like a lot of them are systematically broken. Like we know that.
I think it's I mean, I think it's broken to the extent that society is broken. I think the problem with education is the priority.
But not all society. I think American society has
Oh yeah.
a lot of
No,
more problems than
that's what I'm
other
talking
societies.
about. I think I mean, I think that the fact that teachers don't get paid as much as other professions, that like you could be doing something that's completely vacuous, right? Like completely like useless as far as and you could get paid infinite times more than a teacher.
Right.
And a teacher, so how much priority is put on quality education is the problem. I think that we have a strong military. I mean, but when it comes to like healthcare and education, there's it's just and probably other things. Like it's just like there's certain. I think it relates to like the corruption in society as a whole. Like what I mean. And the fact that education is not like first on the list, like we're not ensuring that we have a prosperous future by educating completely competent and capable children who can grow into adulthood and take the reins and lead us into a better place. Like that's a problem,
So what do you think about there's a growing sentiment that university and college are becoming less important and almost a waste of time and money, especially with the advent of AI. Do you agree with that?
No, I think that the problem is that there are certain things that you need to go to college for, and
like
and
social,
other things that you don't. And I think that the expansion of what colleges offer as far as degrees weighs heavily into those realms of things where it's like, all right, we'd make it without you. You know what I mean? Like I get like, you're, there's certain things like hard sciences, like engineering, biology, medicine, chemistry. Like those things and the derivatives of those things are always going to be things that you need to go and get higher education for.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. And I think that there's a lot of things that you don't necessarily have to get a higher education for, and I think that, um, you know,
But what are some things that you need a higher education that you can't get from AI?
that you can't get from AI.
Yeah. That's my point. Is that now with ChatGPT,
I don't know. I mean that. Yeah. I mean that's
there's
a
not
whole
much.
other.
There's not much. The only thing that I can think of that you can't get from ChatGPT, if you really focus and really spend the time every day to really learn it and test your learnings, the only thing you can't get, in my opinion, is the social aspect, which is invaluable. But, I think
Well,
with
if it's invaluable, then that just says it right there. I mean, like at the
right,
end of the day, like no.
right. Well, then go to
But
school.
it's more than just a
Schools should
social.
be purely social
It's
then.
not more than just a social aspect. It's the social aspect. You're part of a cohort of people who are studying the same thing, who are being mentored by somebody who is
Yeah, an expert,
an expert
so-called.
in that
Yeah.
thing, and you're getting that dynamic in and of itself. I think is what it comes down to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you know yeah, like it's like your learning is being crowdsourced. You're doing research with people, and
Yeah.
you're taking knowledge that's been passed down from the past, and you're expanding upon that knowledge going into the future. And to do that on your own through AI, I don't think
Yeah,
that's really
I agree.
possible.
The thing also that I'm trying to allude to is that in China, where I lived for 5 years or so, I would say 99% of people are studying engineering, you know?
Yeah.
And so that there's a reason to that. Like they're like, okay, you can read a book if you want on, literary topics, but make something. You see what I mean? Like,
Yeah, without a doubt.
and so I think there's something to that also, but it's probably another topic. Let's get back
I
to
mean,
it.
yeah, those are the skills. Like if the
Hard
world, if society collapsed
Yeah.
tomorrow and we had no electricity,
Yeah.
we would have to have people who understood how to generate electricity.
Right. Like
From
trade schools are less
Yeah,
important than they should be, Like
exactly. Like
because look,
people
I went
who
to
build, who fix,
yeah,
who invent, who you know, if and then once we got that electricity working, we would have to be able to retrofit all
convert
of the
it. Yeah,
appliances
yeah, yeah.
that make life easier. And
Yeah, I mean, look at us for example, right? You are an educator, and at the time when you were going to school, I don't think you had any aspirations to be an educator. For me, I went to school for audio stuff, and I have no aspirations to do audio stuff. You see what I mean? Like, it's different. When you're young, you don't really know what you want. I mean, I think that's part of the process also, but it's just that the trades and like doing something that's actually practical in
yeah,
terms of the long term. It's unknown too because we don't know even with law. It's like now with ChatGPT, if it can web crawl, it can find all law, open law. Like you no longer need these big thick books and all this
yeah.
because
I mean, this is a whole nother
right,
conversation. Yeah,
right,
no, but I
right.
hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um,
All right, go ahead. Get back to it.
Okay, so just remember where you are. Agree, slightly agree, disagree, strongly agree. Cheating is a legitimate way to resist oppressive systems. Cheating is a legitimate way to resist oppressive systems. Move. Explain.
Uh-oh.
I still believe
Uh-oh.
that
no,
cheating is wrong.
this dude right here.
Yeah.
He's just being completely rational. Cheating is a legitimate way to resist oppressive systems because it works,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's all there is to it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But let's see what they say.
Okay.
But I also understand that people try to deal with being oppressed in different ways. I don't think cheating is the best way to do it, but I can see why somebody would try it. I'm thinking, let's say somebody who goes to a country, doesn't speak the language, the school maybe has the means to like help that person out, but they don't do it. And if the student has a chance to cheat to get ahead, like they know they're intelligent, they're just not like they can't speak the language. I can see why that student would cheat if I were the teacher.
Okay.
I don't know what I would do.
Okay.
I would probably punish, but maybe not harshly. I would look at more why the person cheated.
Okay, I'm a little surprised. You moved to the agree and you were staunchly. So why do you think cheating is a legitimate way to resist oppressive systems?
If you're living under a legitimately oppressive system, let's say we're in World War II, and I'm a German, and the Nazis have taken over Germany, I would cheat. In that case, I would do everything I could to take on an oppressive system. Do I think we live in an oppressive system? No.
Systemic racism is real. Move.
Your child needs these 3 key factors to get into
And this is the
an
question
Ivy League or top 25 university. And it's not having a good...
What?
This is the question that he wants to ask above all else. He's been like working his way towards this.
Yeah.
But this is like the last chapter. So yeah, this is basically what the crux of what he is all about.
Yeah.
It's like, is systemic racism real? Is it a thing? But let's see. Oh, he went back.
Wait, should we give our opinion first?
Go for it.
All right.
If you want to.
I mean, as an American, in America, there is definitely systemic racism. Definitely. Okay. I don't know if it's as bad as it was. I think it's getting better slowly, but I think systemic implies that it's from the root, like it's intrinsic, and you can't abolish it completely. I think that, I don't know if I'm thinking about specifically the penal system. I mean, more than anything, it's you're asking a judge to decide, even if there's a jury, the judge can overturn the jury's decision. And so juries are kind of almost pointless because the judge makes the final decision. And, historically, there's probably a lot more white judges, not to say that they're all racist, but again, it comes down to subjectivity. And just like a teacher might give, like a Mexican teacher might give the Mexican student a more lenient grade because they want to help. You see what I mean? It's the same thing in the penal system. And I mean, just look at weed. Like, weed was illegal for us growing up, and there's probably still people in jail for weed. Like, walking down the street, the cops, with stop and frisk, they have the choice as to who they want to stop and frisk. So it's like, I don't know, it definitely was, systemic. I mean, we were talking about Jim Crow. That was a perfect example of systemic racism, and I don't think we've fully recovered from that era.
But is it traditional or systemic? Like,
I mean, systemic is traditional in the system.
Does it exist in society? Yes. Is it systemic?
Systemic means it exists in the systems.
Well, the systems are
run judicial
by,
education.
run by people. So, there are people that are racist, right? And as much as...
But those people that are racist are running the system. So yes, I think we agree, right? That those people...
Yeah, but not all the people in any given system are racist.
Right. But,
so, so is it systemic as in it's on the
like
books,
majority.
or is it systemic as in,
What'd you
you know,
say? Is it systemic as in what?
is it on the books? Is it law? Is it
Right.
the law of the lands? Or is it, or are you talking about systemic as in, you know, there are people who have influence who can exert their, who can exercise their racism through
Yeah.
the system within which they exist or they work, right? So
Also,
yeah,
systemic or systematic are probably important differentiations.
systematic, I don't know.
Systematic is like constant, whereas I think systemic is like built in. I
Right.
don't know. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
there definitely was, and I think that like there's no like light switch where it's like, all right, I'm going to turn off systemic racism. So once,
I think
you know,
systemic implies that you can't turn it off. Like it's built in.
well, no, you can change laws, you could change policies,
Yeah.
you can do that. So but then there's a latent effect to when it actually has an impact on people's lives and how people do business. So yeah, I mean, there's social racism without a doubt. Systemic, I mean, there's systemic racism in the sense that, I mean, you could say that affirmative action is, this is very controversial, and
Right.
if you post this on YouTube, this will get lots of comments. But you could say that affirmative action is systemic racism because you're judging a person based on the color of their skin.
Yeah.
You're a black person, so you're going to get different treatment than this other person.
Yeah. And
That is more like, when you say systemic, I'm thinking of things like that where no, this is a white only bathroom, or this is a white only establishment. Now, those things might actually come to fruition just based on the cultural influences surrounding those spaces and those places and all that stuff. And that's different from systemic, but it's illegal to actually enforce that,
yeah.
impose those rules. But on the flip side, it is legal to say that your company has to have this percent,
Mhm.
13% African Americans,
Yeah.
or your group or your institution should reflect the racial demographic in your
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
your
See, this is the whole thing that we've seen in the last 5 years or so, in that systemic the supposed answer to systemic racism was DEI, and we see that DEI gets taken out of control and is now a bigger problem than what it tries to answer. You see what I mean? Because
Yeah,
people,
because the pendulum
yeah,
can only swing back so far, but before it swings too far in the
right,
opposite direction. So it's like, yeah, so I get the thrust behind it, but what you're doing is, identity politics in and of itself is racist just by saying that, like, oh, I'm voting for Kamala because she's black. If you have nothing else to say to it
mm,
besides, I want a black person or I want a woman, these are prejudices in and of themselves, even though they're in response to another, the to the inverse form of prejudice that was imposed in the past. So
yeah.
it's like,
But there's also an argument in the sense that, okay, maybe she might not be as qualified as another black woman,
yeah,
but she would be the first black woman, or first woman and black woman. You see what I mean? So that in and of
yeah,
itself is kind of
or
like
just say she may not be as qualified as
anyone.
another white man,
Right,
right?
exactly.
But because she's a black woman,
Right. But
we're gonna
for me, there's some validity to that. Like, we don't really know
I disagree.
based on what people are saying today. It's a guess. Your
Yeah.
vote is a guess. You don't know exactly what's going to happen, what the context will be. Like, we didn't predict COVID. You see what I mean? And that was during Trump. And so it's like he handled it the best he could. And same thing with any president. Like we're guessing how good
See
they'll
that,
do.
but that no, then you need a proven track record, and not saying that Trump has it and Kamala doesn't. I think those two people aside, I think when you're talking about certain roles in society, like if God forbid one of your kids gets sick or one of our kids gets sick, and you need a doctor to operate on them, you don't want the Kamala Harris of brain surgeons,
right,
doing a very sensitive procedure.
Do you want the Donald Trump? No, but my point is
no, without a doubt. But the thing is that you want the person who has done it before, who has had success before, who has proven their competence.
Yeah, but
right.
But let me put a wrench to that. I think you can agree that with lobbying, right? And I know we weren't planning to talk about politics, but with lobbying, that kind of makes it a bit less like, what is the president a figurehead, or is it really, is that president's choices really gonna get, come to fruition?
That's a great question, because
that
is the, and I'll say it here publicly, and you could post this. That is the reason why I'm not voting for Kamala Harris. And
you know why?
Hear me out. Yo, that is my biggest problem this election cycle, and the thing that I'm grappling with the most, because it seems to me that President
Trump
Biden
would be less favorable to lobbyists.
No. When you're talking about a figurehead, you're talking about a placeholder. Like just the person that you see.
Yeah,
and like that's the president, but not the person that's making the tough decisions, right? And when I think about that one point, I don't see Biden as being more than a figurehead at this point. He's definitely not making
Biden. Why are you even talking about Biden?
Because he's incompetent.
But who cares about Biden? He's not running.
But he's the president right now, right? He's the figurehead. He's the person that is the president. But do you really believe, I don't think anyone does, that he's staying up late into the night?
I mean, I think that
he's reading all the legal documents, and
I think there's probably, it depends on the person, but I think any president probably has, I don't know, 10 to 20, maybe 40, if I'm feeling generous, % of the power of the decision power. Like they have the end.
No, but
they're the last
let me
death.
finish
Like,
my point. I know I'm like beating around the bush a little bit, but that's the thing that Trump exposed. When you really think about it, Trump, right, for all his flaws, you believe that you believe that he believes that he is the boss. When he's the president, he really believes he's the president. He is the leader of the free world, and he believes that shit. Whether it's true or not, whether there's other people pulling strings in the background, I think it's pretty clear that there's always going to be those people, like you're alluding to, right? But with certain presidents, and more than I think we've been willing to really grapple with, that percentage gets really low. And and I think Biden, I mean, is the most egregious example of a president who is not the person at the wheel, right? He's not the one making the decisions. We're going to send this much money to this country. We're going to divert these resources to deal with this natural disaster. We're going to address this issue like this. He's not the one. Trump, who cannot even read from a teleprompter, is honest and authentic to a fault.
Whoa.
Hear me out.
Those are strong words, my
guy. Hear me out, right? He speaks off the cuff, right? And I think that
doesn't mean he's honest.
authentic then, right?
Yes. Okay.
Right? He's speaking off the cuff. He's not giving you a speech that's been written by
Right.
his, his cabinet members or whatever. He's speaking off the cuff. He's giving you a natural, honest reaction.
But is that better though,
Yeah,
in
it's
your
better.
opinion? But
100% better.
but
Because
I don't
look,
know that I agree, because one person doesn't, one person may steer a ship, but it takes more. You see what I mean? Like, if
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah, yeah. But the person who is steering the ship is ultimately the person who is accountable, right? If the ship
yeah,
crashes into an iceberg, you know who took it in that
yeah,
direction, right? With the current administration, with Kamala Harris, you're never going to know. She's going to be the one giving the speeches. She's going to be the one shaking hands of the world leaders and all this shit, giving the face, you know, she's the figurehead, but
yeah.
she's not the one making the tough
But
decisions.
also,
And wait, let me finish. That is a problem, because then you are living in a under a government that has no accountability. You know what I mean? The person who is deciding to go to war is not the person you elected. Then you, in effect, are not living in a democracy, right? That is the threat to democracy. With and this is Trump's like most redeeming quality, is that if we go to war, we don't go to war. It was because of him. You know what I mean? Whereas with Kamala, you don't know that. With Biden, you don't know that. He's gonna get up there and spit like
yeah,
what
but
he's
come
supposed.
on,
He's gonna say what he's
you
supposed to
think
say.
you really think Trump was making all the decisions? Look at the guy, all the people. Look at how many peoples he fired and hired, and look
Yeah,
at the type of people who he had in his cabinet.
yeah.
These clearly people were
I'm not.
helping
I'm
to
not
make the
talking
decision.
about his sound judgment. I'm just talking
Yeah.
about the fact that he's the one that's
Okay,
making the decisions.
but is that what you're explaining? Is that a quality that you want, being the face of America and making the important decisions? Like, look, if you mentioned track record, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you want someone of his personality? Like, yes, he's more entertaining and more authentic,
No, bro. Listen
but
to me.
is
Listen
he
to me. Listen to me. First administration, right? All this doomerism, right? Oh, like he's gonna have the launch codes and all this shit. First administration in our lifetimes, right? Where we have not been involved in a war, in a foreign war.
yeah,
That right there, bro. That right there is so resounding that alone should be enough for most people, right? You're going off of a popularity, contest, like his personality. Oh, I don't like his personality. I don't like the way he talks about. I don't give a fuck. All this like this identity politics, race bullshit, abortion, gender shit. That's nonsense, yo. Who are we at war with? Who are we sending our young people out to fight and die for? You know what I mean? And the fact that he, first off, made inroads with all these people that we've been taught to believe are tyrants, right? Kim Jong Un, the leader of China, Putin, all these people that he's in communication with, and meanwhile not going to war with, right? You know that that is such a big deal for me personally, right?
I think
That
we need to.
on top of he can sit down and give an unscripted interview, 2 hours, 1 hour and a half, long form conversation off the cuff, on All In, on any number of podcasts. He was just on Flagrant,
Yeah, I saw it.
You know what I'm saying? The fact that he can do that, when have you seen Biden.
No, Kamala's interviews are terrible.
Stop. Let me talk. Obama, Bush. When have any of now the it was before their time, right? Like that it wasn't their time to have that platform. But right now, none of these motherfuckers. Obama could get on a podcast today if he wanted to, right? And you think that Trump is going on flagrant thinking, oh, these guys are going to be nice to me and they're going to no.
They
You
were
think
nice to him.
they were because he's not he's just being him, right? And he's making them laugh. That's why they're nice to him, and he's not saying anything crazy.
Even All In, they were nice to him. Nobody's giving him hard questions.
No, because he disarms them. Because at the end of the day,
because they want him on their side.
No, bro.
Yeah. Anyway, we should do a separate video because I think the war point, if that's your main point, we could dissect that, because if you really look at his economic, kind of doings, like with Saudi Arabia and all this, there's counterpoints to what you're saying. And
I mean, we're here now. I mean, like how long?
But I don't have them, but I've heard of them, like the counterpoints.
Yeah, yo, bro. Like the dude, yeah. Like, look. He surpasses expectations based on everything that the mainstream media tells you. When you see him in natural conversation,
I think he's getting better.
Wait, but here, let me finish a thought, yo. When you see him in a natural setting, just talking as a human, right? Just spitting, talking to Lex Friedman, talking to Flagrant, Andrew Schultz, and Akash, and or talking to any number of people. That he's done so many different podcasts. He exceeds your expectations based on what you've heard about him from mainstream media. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they fall short of those expectations based on everything you've heard about them from mainstream media, right? Mainstream media has been putting their hands and pushing a certain agenda and a certain side of the aisle, for several years, right? And at the end of the day, you got to look at who mainstream media is working for, right? Big industry, right? Money, right? And the thing is that, like, what I feel has been exposed by Trump through his presidency and beyond, and in contrast to Biden, Harris, and all that shit, is the fact that he is not controlled, right? He is not a figurehead, right? Or at the very least, he doesn't believe to be one, right? So maybe there's still puppet masters behind the scenes who have their hand on levers of control when he's in office. And, maybe so, but in his mind, he's going to say what he thinks is right to say, whether you agree with it or not. And he's going to do what he thinks is right to do, whether you agree with it or not. With Biden, with Harris, with Obama, these people are controlled by those people behind the scenes with their hands on the levers of control. And if those people say jump, Kamala's going to jump. If they say pander to this special interest, she's going to pander to that special. And this is why these people flip-flop. And but Trump, if nothing else, not that he's deconstructing the establishment or he's emptying the swamp or anything, but in his mind, in his own mind, he believes that he is El Jefe. He is the president. And
but he's also a proven criminal. Like, he's been a criminal for 30, 40 years. Like, there's proof that he breaks the law.
I don't care. I mean, look, yeah, it's less than ideal, but under listen to what I'm telling you though. Given, like, assume that what I'm saying is true, right? And I think you can pretty much say that, like, you hear what I'm trying to tell you.
I hear what you're saying.
Assuming what I'm saying is true, I want to know who is the person making the decisions, right? I don't want to.
No one
I
will
don't
ever
want to
know
deal
that.
with a figurehead and always be wondering. Like right now, Biden's president. All of the actions that we're taking around the world and in our own country regarding all these wars, regarding our border, regarding all this shit, I don't know who is at the wheel. I
Yeah,
know
but you
it's
don't
supposed
know
to.
that just as much with Trump. You don't know he's at the wheel. You don't know that.
I know it way more.
You
Way more.
feel, you think.
No,
You
no, no.
think because he says what he wants that he's in control. You think he doesn't pander to certain groups. You think he's not, my man does not have the kind of money people think he has. You think he's not getting that money
But
from
you're missing my
big
point.
groups?
You're missing my point. We're talking about the lesser of two evils here. We're not talking about like the hero versus the villain. We're talking about the lesser of two evils. And when you vote for somebody who is a figurehead and that person is just doing the bidding of other interests that are not elected through a due process.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying, but my point is that there is no data to say Trump is not also a figurehead to different groups. You see what I mean?
I
Yes,
see what you're saying, but I think that
like to the white
I
supremacy group.
personally, no, 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 no. See, yeah, no. See, now I think that you're getting your information from,
I'm
you
not
know,
getting any information. That's why I don't really discuss politics, or even
yeah, yeah,
vote. But
yeah. I
come on.
mean, listen, like you could take a video, you could edit it down to sound bites and snippets, and you can tell whatever story you want to tell, and the news outlets in this country, they do that to Trump on the constant. And when you listen to the whole speech versus, oh, Trump said this, you realize, no, that's not what he said at all. And he was talking about this. And it takes a while. And it takes like a counter argument. Like, wait, no, this is
Yeah,
what they're
but
not
come on.
telling.
There's certain things that he says that are not taken out of context. I mean, grab him by the pussy. Come on, that's not taken out of context. You see what I mean?
It
He's
doesn't
he.
need to be, yeah. Because listen, bro, I have a dick and balls, and I can take it. I'm okay with grabbing by the pussy. Yo. It does not bother me. Yo. I mean, it just doesn't bother me. I'm like, and I'm never gonna sit here
So
and be like,
so
oh,
you're
he said
so
grab him
you're
by the pussy.
so
Like,
you're believing that what he said on flagrant, meaning that he wanted a peaceful transition of power. You're believing him by saying that he was truly just saying peaceful transition of power on January 6th. Come on, we both heard him say take this shit by any means necessary. Come on, like just because he said he wanted a
I was
peaceful
listening
transition of
to
power.
his speech that day, right? That day, and then I heard how it was portrayed after the fact. I was listening live, right? He said peacefully, we're going to peacefully march to the Capitol. We're going to protest and we're not going to, and yeah, he had strong rhetoric, but in no time was he advocate like trying to get people to do anything violent, right? He cannot be held accountable for what other people act out. He did not tell
I
them
don't know. I
explicitly
think
do
we
X,
have
Y.
to
No,
listen
no,
to
no,
that
no.
speech
Yeah,
together.
like we do because
Yeah.
and the thing is that the crazy thing is now is that there is the ability to go back and rewrite history and so if you do a quick Google search, you're gonna find snippets of him saying, we're gonna fight and we're gonna do this and we're gonna,
Yeah.
and yeah, he's talking. But the thing is though, is that it's a democracy. If in the Constitution, right? People have a right to question the outcome of an election if they don't feel like it was a fair election. Now,
Yeah.
and case in point is that think of Al Gore, Bush. Remember that in Florida, right? Where they had to do the recount and all this bullshit. Al Gore was the winner, and then they went back. No, George W. Bush won, right?
What
Remember
about?
that?
Go ahead.
Wait. That now go back to Trump's first time, in when he beat Hillary, he beat Clinton. Clinton and all the Democrats were saying the same shit. Oh, it was a rigged election. Russia, the only reason Trump. You remember that? You remember
Yeah, I
that?
remember.
And that
But what
whole thing
about?
was debunked. That's not true. Trump is an agent of Russia, and Russia is
Yeah. Okay. So what about Charlottesville when he said there's good people on both sides? You agree with that?
all right. So yeah, that was out of context. And like, we could do a video
We should.
where we explain all that shit, because there are other people, there are countless people that have taken that. And that's the thing, is that, like,
But I mean, there's no context to certain things that he's saying. You can't put it into an acceptable context.
But once you say that he's talking about white supremacists, you're putting it into context. So if there's no context to it, then how are you putting context?
No, I'm saying there's no justification to some of the things he's saying. You can't contextualize out.
Just as your boy, take my word for it, yo.
Nah, let's do a video on it.
All right, bro. I mean, it's almost now he's it's how do I put this? And it's frustrating too, because it makes me look like I all out support the dude, and it's not even that. It's just that, like, you see it happening, and it's like yeah, I don't especially like the guy, but it just makes the hairs on my neck go up when I see this whole apparatus weaponized to demonize somebody who, there's a lot wrong with the dude. He's like kind of like cartoonish and like little narcissistic, and like there's a lot of things going on, right? But when you see the extent to which they, I mean, this is what's fucked up, right? Is that, like, I have my kids and their mother, we split up, and it's like, you see, like, the way that narratives are spun to make me look like I'm a piece of shit, right? Now, my kids are here right now, right? They're chilling, I take good care of them, like it's not even a question in their minds or in my mind or anyone else that sees me with my kids and knows me, right? But to hear it from their mother, who knows better than anybody that I'm a good father, and it's like she has taken it upon herself to create a narrative, right? And this is also very common. Like, you have Kim, right? Like, she spins a narrative, and she highlights all the most negative things about you and refuses to acknowledge any of the positive things about you, right? And that's basically the playbook that the media runs on Trump, is that, these negative things are there, but then you're going beyond that. You're going to zero in on every negative, every gaffe, every blunder, every misstep. Then you're going to take, other instances that are not really negative, but if you have the opportunity to spin it to make it look negative, you'll do that too. And then on top of that, you're not going to acknowledge on any level any positive action taken by this person, right? So I'm very familiar with that playbook, and when I see that done, right, to this person, right, I got to see it for what it is, and that's what I identify, and that's, if I vote for him, it's going to be like largely for a personal reason mixed with like, I have very little faith in, in institutions and authority, right? Overall. And I get it. Like, these media corporations are funded by big industry, pharma, healthcare, um, the military industrial complex, big, media companies, and and those are the people that butter their bread, and these entities, if they have all this power and they want nothing more than more power, and they want so badly to get Kamala into office that they're going to overlook all of her gaffes and highlight any little glimmer of hope or positivity that where there's very little to be found, right? To the point where she's the candidate of hope, and completely, you know, denigrate her opposition. I know that something is up. Something is up, yo. They would not be hating on this dude so bad and running this playbook on this dude so bad if he was going to be good for them, right?
Yeah.
And it may be incidental, right? He might be like the Inspector Gadget of presidents, where it's like he's just haplessly, you know. But whatever it is, it puts like it decelerates their move towards more and more power, more and more control over society, over the economy, over the government, and that's what I want. Maybe he's not going to reform anything, but he's just going to slow them down. You know what I mean? Because we live in a hyper capitalist system that is at risk of going into like a kind of fascist system where corporations and government are kind of married together, and there once you get that with the level of technology that we have with AI, with the privacy concerns that we have, with the surveillance state that we live under, there's no getting out from under that, you know what I mean? So let's slow it down a little bit. Let's let this guy do what he does, and if he doesn't get us in war, maybe because he's not so in bed with those financial interests that are willing to put people's lives up for slaughter to enrich, whatever it is. Maybe it's completely like, maybe he's just like bumbling through it. I don't know, but whatever it is, they are salivating to get this other person in there.
Yeah.
Not because she's like some great, world leader or someone who's gonna, because she's going to lube up the anuses for us all to get fucked. You know?
No,
And that's what I'm like. That's what I'm voting based on.
Yeah, you make some good points. I mean, there's some obvious evidence to your points in the sense that she wasn't democratically elected, and her interviews are objectively trash compared to his.
Her ability to just be candid and honest is trash.
Yeah, or
His
just
ability
answer
to
a
be
fucking
candid
question.
and honest is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
When you can talk for hours on end,
or just answer a question straightforwardly.
Yeah, or just be straightforward about how you don't answer questions straightforward. Like you're like,
and
all
also
that. You know what I mean? Like
also
he's
there's
breaking the fourth wall.
I mean, there's been some flip flopping on Trump's side, but I agree
It doesn't compare, bro.
It's
It
not
doesn't compare.
nearly as much as Kamala. Kamala, we don't know really where she stands about anything.
Yes, thank you, bro.
Because she's black and white. She's completely opposite on the same topics from one day to the next.
Yeah, she's
Whereas
black.
with
She's
Trump,
black. She's black and Indian.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. Somebody laugh. All right. Yo, go ahead. Finish this shit, man.
Yeah, you definitely posting this, yo.
Hell yeah. Yo, I'm definitely clipping it up too, because I'm gonna TikTok the shit out of you, son. I'm getting mad viral clips off your last speech.
Yo, bro, it's all good. Just make
Hell
sure
yeah.
that like
There
you
was
know.
some good stuff, man. You made some good points. And I know you're gonna have a lot of supporters of a lot of the stuff you just said.
All right.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
clip this out and we'll
I
break
will.
the fourth wall. All right.
Okay. give him one example of systemic racism that exists now, let's say in a legal context.
I don't know.
You're on the strongly agree. So you
I can't think of a concrete example.
Well,
That's
come on,
fucked
son.
So
I mean,
be
there it is.
neutral then. So
That's
be neutral.
huh?
So be neutral if you don't
No,
know.
but that's the thing. That's the cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
She is on the strongly
Yeah.
agree,
With
but she
no
cannot say one thing.
Yeah.
Right? She can't because it's not systemic. It's not systemic, and nobody wants to come to grips with this fact, right? That yes, we come from a past where systemic racism was a thing, but it's not systemic today. You know what I mean? So to keep acting like it is, the reason why we do is because it's part of our identities as a culture, whether you're white or black, whatever, you know, it's been ingrained in us. So it's a cultural thing, right? And it's all a form of racism. It's whether you are fighting against quote unquote racism by being extra nice to a person just because they're black,
or standing on agree when you have no point.
right? Yeah, it's all racism. Like, oh, like I'm not just gonna kick you to the other side when I won the coin toss because you're a black woman and I'm a white man, and how's that gonna make me look? And like, it's like, you know, the virtue signaling, all that bullshit. It's all racism, all of it. You know what I mean? All right,
I agree.
Then how do you know it's real?
Because it feels real.
Oh, she just I mean, come on, this is.
Are you ever mistaken about any of your feelings?
Yes.
Is the
I'm
fact
not saying I'm right.
But you must be saying you're right because you're on strongly disagree, or you'd be on the neutral.
I can't think of a concrete example where I've experienced systemic racism.
What about just as a society as a whole?
I mean, I think people have prejudices.
But systemic racism. Systems.
But the systems are built by people.
Okay. You're on the disagree, is that correct?
Correct.
How do you reconcile the fact that you're on the disagree with the fact that Asian Americans need higher test scores to get into elite universities?
I don't think they do need higher test
They
scores.
do.
Do they?
They do need higher. Asian Americans need higher test scores and higher grades. Would that not be an example, accepting if that's true by fiat, and that lost in a case with Harvard? Would that not be an example of systemic racism if it were true?
Didn't you just say it lost?
No, well, the Harvard lost.
So the Supreme Court overruled it. So that would be evidence that it's not systemic.
Well, it'd be evidence until very recently that there was systemic racism against Asians.
Yeah, maybe I should adjust then. Maybe I should go to slightly disagree because you're right. There are, I think, affirmative action. There's forms of.
Yeah, this dude is so crafty with it. Yeah, yeah. So he like lulled them all into this, right? And now he's like swinging the axe for the fucking jugulars and shit.
Treating people differently based on their skin color happens often.
Okay, then how come you didn't move to the neutral?
Because it's not as prevalent when people say systemic racism. I disagree with that description. I don't think we're systemically racist. That's more of on an individual basis, and I would try and call that
and
out
not a systems basis.
Correct. But you make a good point about admissions.
Can you give an example of systemic racism?
Yeah, the best example for me is the 13th Amendment.
Okay.
that says that slavery is illegal except in case of punishment, and at the same time, the people that are most likely to get punished are people of color.
Okay, we have to wrap it up because we're at 3 minutes. Do you have any final comments?
Wait, he's not gonna. She made a very fucking good point, yo. Wait, he's not gonna follow that up. I feel
Yeah,
like
and there's no limit to YouTube videos unless
Yeah.
he's answering to advertisers.
No.
He
Yeah,
said we're at
I
3
mean,
minutes.
yeah, homegirl came with a good. I mean, I could speak to it a little bit.
Go ahead, do it.
Right. I mean, that is a very well. What was the book? Fuck. Someone wrote a book relatively not that recently, in the last 10 years, I want to say. Fuck. I can't remember the name of it, but it spoke to this, right? And it was basically, you know, using that argument to basically prove that systemic racism was real. Oh, what was her name? Michelle. Fuck. I'm next time we talk, I'm gonna have the name of it. But that is a very good point.
Now you know what? Just find it and I'll cut this out because you should,
Yeah, no, it's all good. I mean, it is
just
what it
do a
is.
quick
I mean,
search.
if somebody watches this one day, they'll throw it in
They'll
the
comment.
comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. But that is a very good point, and I'm surprised that he skipped over it like that. And I feel like the reason he's skipping over it is because he doesn't have nothing to say to it.
Yeah.
Right?
But also okay, her point is that there's more people of color being punished, right?
Yeah. So the prison industrial complex is the is one of the
targeting
most glaring examples of
because you think it's targeting
right
black people more.
now. What I'll say to that is that you get locked up and sentenced for a certain amount of time. If you get sentenced to 20 years over the course of 20 years, you
do more crimes.
No. Things change, right? So
Right.
there are people in jail now that were sentenced when we were kids,
Right.
who were sentenced.
Yeah, like
Right, unfairly. That's a good example. But there are all kinds of examples, but now you have very light sentencing for way more severe crimes as a counter to that. So people now are not getting sentenced quite the same way. Policing is not happening the same way it used to. Racial profiling is not happening the way it used to.
Yeah, but the thing is, with these topics, we don't really have the data. We're just going.
No. But I'm confident enough to say that. And it's different probably from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. But I think by and large, especially in blue states, a lot has changed over the last 20 years, right? Where, those numbers, the statistics that you're going to get about prison inmates, is not going to reflect, like, you're going to have the prison inmates go back for the, if someone has life, can go back 50, 60 years, right? To a time when, there was a lot of injustice in the justice system, right? But if you compare those to sentencing in the last year per se, I would venture to say you're going to find very different statistics where sentencing is handed out, if not, probably not equally, but I think now it might the inequalities in prison sentences would more reflect socioeconomic status, your ability to hire competent legal counsel. And I think another area that it would reflect the inequalities would be reflected would be in gender, where I think men would be sentenced more heavily than women for the same crime. Now, I could be wrong about this, but this is what I feel. I think, and I think that to a lesser extent now than ever in the past would be race, but I think overshadowing that would be socioeconomic status, which is also correlates to race. So it's a tricky one to suss out.
And education too factors
But
in.
yeah,
Because,
but that
like,
also
you could be
correlates.
tricked into admitting guilt when you're not guilty just to get
Yeah, but
out.
that also correlates to
To
socioeconomic
legal counsel, yeah.
status, probably more than race. Um, you know, there was another one. It was like a Netflix binge-worthy fucking series about a guy that was accused of killing a woman.
Yeah.
You know the one I'm talking about?
The white guy?
Yeah, the white guy.
Yeah.
And he was not really that
Yeah.
swift, to put it
Yeah.
nicely. And he got kind of, and that wasn't cut and dry, because I think they came back and said, yeah, he really did do it and all this. I don't know, but like the way that was played out was portrayed in the docuseries was as if he was, coerced into admitting guilt when he.
Yeah, I mean, the simple fact that police can lie during an interrogation is like a problem. Like, you shouldn't be allowed to lie. Like, you're being encouraged to trick the suspects. You see what I mean? Like, come on, why is that okay?
I feel you, without
know?
a doubt. All right, let's finish this off.
Yeah, go ahead.
This made me think a lot about my views and why I think them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about hard things.
Cool.
I liked being forced to defend what I didn't believe in.
Well, you have final comments?
Yeah, it was really interesting hearing your thinking. I'm glad that this whole thing was beneficial.
Cool. Let's just do this. I want to just return to this. The more historically marginalized groups you're a part of, the more it is okay for you to cheat. Move. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. It's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell.
All right. That was dope.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, man. Another one in the books.
Yeah.
All right. So we gotta do another one soon.
No doubt.
All right, man. Have a good night.
Peace.